Hello and welcome to Willoughby DIY. My name's Faith and today we're turning Dollar Tree platters into beautiful Christmas signs. And it's all part of my 12 Days of Christmas DIY series. I picked up this platter from the Dollar Tree and it's so cool. It's this wood grain pattern, but it also feels like wood. It has like a texture to it. I picked up this window cling sheet from Walmart a couple years ago and they still have one that's pretty similar to this and some Mod Podge. The window cling actually has these lines on it. It's supposed to be like the wood plank design on the background of it, and I really don't want that on here. So I'm actually going to cut the deer head out, which is super tedious, and I would only do it if it absolutely really bothers you that the lines are there like it does me. So I'm going to cut it out completely. And I'm also going to take the little pine cone that's on the sheet as well and get rid of the obvious line that's on there. I'm not going to fuss with this one as much, but I kind of wish I did with the greenery ones. I'm going to clean up the ends of the little greenery stems there and then figure out where I want these to be placed on my platter. Once I figure that out, I'm going to add the Mod Podge. I'm just going to flip the clings over and add a decent amount of Mod Podge to the back of this. At first I was only adding a little bit, and then I was like, the texture on the platter, I may need a bit more. And honestly, even with a good amount on there, it still had a hard time sticking because of that texture. So really get a good amount on there if you're using this platter. And then we can carefully smooth it out in place onto our platter. Try to make sure it was placed pretty centered on the platter and add a little Mod Podge here and there wherever I felt it needed to go. And I still have some bits that want to pop up even now. So I'll probably have to fix that before I consider this project truly complete. I kind of wish that I actually completely cut the clear parts off of these greenery pieces because they just I don't know, they don't look very good if you're up close on it, but hindsight's 20/20, so maybe next time I'll get it right. We're going to glue those on the exact same way. Then we're going to give the entire platter a coat of Mod Podge. And this does two things. The first being that it just helps seal the window cling onto the platter even better. And the second, you don't have weird brush strokes in one place and not in another, so it makes sure the finish on the platter is consistent. Let that dry for about 30 minutes to an hour, and I come back in with some white paint and a chip brush and do a little dry brushing on it, make it a little distressed. If you want to do this to yours, I would recommend doing it before you add your window clings, because I had to go in with some water on a paper towel and clean up some of the paint off of my window clings, which is fine because I Mod Podged them before, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But I concentrated that paint on the outside edges and that little inner rim of the platter. And once the paint dries, we can add our hanger, and I'm just taking some jute twine and hot glue, and I'm going to glue one end of the jute twine on the back. The top of the platter that you see here is actually the top center of what it is on the front. So I had to make sure that was lined up properly before adding this. Once you get one side glued down, hold the middle up so you know it's not going to show from the front, and glue the other end down. And that's it. I think this turned out absolutely gorgeous. I love anything with deer and deer heads, if you guys haven't figured that out by now. And I had so much fun making it because it was so easy. For this one, you'll need a platter from the Dollar Tree as well. I picked up this one, which is so pretty on its own, honestly, but I needed to give it a little bit of extraness. So I grabbed some brown nautical rope, also from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut the amount I need and then glue the ends together so they don't unravel using hot glue. And then we can start attaching this to our platter to create a trim. I start at the top middle, that way when I add a bow later, it'll hide the ends of the rope. And then I just hot glue it all the way around using just the right amount of hot glue. You don't want too much because then it'll seep out and it'll look terrible, but you want enough to make sure it really holds that rope on. And we're just gluing it right to that very outer lip of the platter. Before I attached this, I did actually take a lighter to it to remove any, frazzly bits because it's jute. So, when you get to the end, just cut it off, glue down the ends really well, And then we can get started on our bow. To make our bow, we'll need some wide burlap ribbon. Ignore the buffalo check. I thought I was going to use that, but I went a different direction. I'm going to take about a foot of that wide burlap ribbon, and I'm going to make one of my little bows, my little bow tie pasta bows. I'm going to actually show you guys exactly how I do it. It's easier when it's a big piece of ribbon. So I'm going to glue those ends together just like so. Find the center of the front of your bow, part that's not glued together, and we're going to glue that to where we just glued the ends together on the back side. Put a dot of hot glue in the center, pinch it together. Then on the front, we're going to add a little hot glue there on each side and pinch those edges back. And I hope that made sense. Just watch me, don't listen. I'm going to hold it together with a clip while it dries, and then take about another 8, maybe 10 inches of burlap ribbon, cut it in half, and we're going to make our tails. Line them up together, fold them in half lengthwise, and dovetail them. I picked up this beautiful candy stripe twine from Michael's. We're going to use it to cinch the middle of our bow. So I'm just going to hot glue the end on, wrap it around until I'm happy with it, and glue the other end to the back. And I decided to trim the tails with that twine. It's a little bit, finicky to do this, but it's so worth it because it turns out so pretty. So you just put a line of hot glue down and then lay your twine on top of it and go all the way around your ribbon tails. I think this twine complements the burlap so perfectly. Then you want to hot glue that on to your sign, covering up where those ropes meet, of course. I do the tails first, that way I can get them exactly where I want them, making sure I'm not covering up any of the letters. Then we can glue down the bow itself. Once the glue is dry, you can flip your sign over and get rid of those little corners that were popping up behind the bow. I'm going to take a piece of that twine, tie the ends together in a knot, and we're going to create our hanger with that. Just going to add some glue on the back and stick it on there. A little bit more glue on top of the knot, and it's done. And I absolutely adore this one. It is so pretty. This platter sign is definitely a win for me. I'm just obsessed with that jute twine now. Let me know what you thought of these projects in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Tap that notification bell so you never miss a video. Make sure you check out that Holly Jolly playlist right there for all of my winter and holiday DIY so far. I hope you all have a very merry day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.